What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. Fun show for us on tap today. We're going to be diving into the full-on Minnesota Vikings playoff path. Yes, they still have a chance. Whether you want the Vikings to make the playoffs or not, they still got an outside chance to do so. So we'll be diving into everything that needs to happen. And then also, I do want to give a little pie chart of blame regarding the season, because I feel like a lot of Vikings fans, from what I've seen on Instagram, Twitter, any social media everybody's trying to divvy up who deserves blame. Is it injury? Is it the coaching staff? Is it just overall personnel? Or was it just some bad luck? I'll be diving into my pie chart of blame at the tail half of today's show. But let's take a look at the NFC playoff picture to where it stands right now. The Niners do have the number 1 seed all locked up, and then the Cowboys should land the 2 seed if they handle biz against the Commanders this weekend. The Lions getting the 3 spot, the Buccaneers right now at the 4 seed. But the wild card, there's only one spot open right now, and it's at 7 spot with the Green Bay Packers, the Saints, the Vikings, and the Falcons all trying to land that spot. If Green Bay wins this weekend, they do get in, and they are playing the Chicago Bears. But what would have to happen for the Vikings to make the playoffs? Number one, obviously you got to handle biz and beat the Detroit Lions, which, the Lions are going to be resting some of their starters. They haven't really said who is playing and who is not just yet, but you got to beat the Lions, even if they are resting some guys going on the road to Detroit. I just don't really like the Vikings' chances there, but hey, you never know. Vegas only has it as a 3.5-point spread, so let's just say Vikings shock the world, go win in Detroit. They could land that one. And then also, the Cardinals would have to beat the Seahawks. I actually love this bet this weekend, is the Cardinals beating the Seahawks at home right now. Again, Vegas has that as a 3-point spread, so even that one is not that unlikely. And then the Packers also losing to the Bears. That's also the third one on this one, and Vegas, again, has that as a 3-point spread as well. So if all three of those things happen, the Vikings do have a chance. But lastly, either the Saints or the Buccaneers will have to lose for the Vikes to get in. Right now, it's a 4% chance for all this to happen. Probably not going to make the playoffs, but hey, you never know. I mean, would I be shocked if either of these 4 things did go down? No, but all of them would have to happen for the Vikes to make the playoffs. But do you want the Vikings to make the playoffs? This would be the pinned comment on today's show, because I'm very curious to see what you guys have to say. Because I've seen a lot of people 50-50 on this in the comment section, but do you want the Vikes to make the playoffs? Give me a Y for yes or give me an N for no at today's pinned comment. I know I'm going to sound just like a total negative person here, but I really don't want the Vikings to make the playoffs, because all right, let's just say they get in. They're the 7th seed. They're taking on the 2 seed. It is most likely going to be the Dallas Cowboys. You're going to roll into Dallas and lose by 30 points. I'd rather the Vikings just get maybe the 12th overall pick, 9th overall pick if they lose this weekend, and have a better chance to get that franchise quarterback. So I know you may say you sound like a negative fan and all that, but just with Nick Mullins or Jaron Hall, the Vikings just don't have a chance to really do anything this year. I'm fine with them losing. Go out there, play hard this weekend, but wouldn't hate a loss either way. But coming up next, I do want to dive into a Vikings pie chart of blame on today's show. Just going over the season, see what went wrong where, and I'll just kind of divvy up some blame across the Vikings coming up here in a second. But first, I do want to give a big-time shout-out to today's sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. If you guys go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS, you're going to get a first deposit match all the way up to $100. I love using Prize Picks. It makes the boring games even a little more entertaining. Anytime I'm watching the Vikings, NBA games, college basketball, college football, whatever it may be, I use Prize Picks. You have a lineup for tonight's Mavericks Trailblazers game where I'm just going to ride Luka Doncic. He has been the hottest player in the NBA we've seen this season. So I'm going to go more on 34.5 points for him. Then I like Jeremy Grant. I'm going to go more than 19.5 for him as well. But if you guys want to ride my picks or fade my picks, do it at Prize Picks. prizepicks.com/CLNS and use that promo code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100. Link for that in the comment section and description of today's show. So let's dive into a pie chart of blame overall for the Vikings season. And I know you guys may be saying that is way too much for injuries, but I'm going to go 45% for injuries. I think if you took any NFL team, you lose your quarterback one for the year, it hurts. Especially that we have seen the drop-off of play from where Kirk Cousins was balling at an all-time rate early on this year. And we see Jaron Hall and Nick Mullins get in there, and they look terrible. Like, I really do believe just losing him enough made this 30%. But then if you include guys like Marcus Davenport not playing at all, Jordan Hicks missing 4 games, Justin Jefferson missing 2.5 months, Brian O'Neill, star right tackle, missing games. Same with Christian Darrisaw as well. I think 45% of kind of the overall blame and reasons why the Vikings lost this year have to go towards injuries. It may sound like a giant excuse, but I really do believe 45% on that standpoint. Now, coaching. I know a lot of people may be saying that's way too low. Kevin O'Connell was terrible this year. But again, look at what he was working with. When you have to deal with Nick Mullins, Josh Dobbs, and Jaren Hall, 3 terrible quarterbacks. Those are 3 terrible options to have play quarterback for your team any given Sunday. They're turning the ball over like crazy. And I remember watching a couple film breakdowns of Nick Mullins versus the Bengals, or also the Lions game. Like, he just missed open receiver after open receiver. And, Jaren Hall and Nick Mullins, the amount of ducks we saw come out of their arms this year, like, it was just bad. Like, I understand Kevin O'Connell, he wasn't great in spots, but I do think he does deserve 20%. His play calling got way too conservative down the stretch of games. It just felt like it was Mike Zimmer, the old typical run, pass, and I just wasn't a big fan of it. But coaching, only 20%. You may disagree. You may think that's actually maybe lower or higher, but I'm going to go 20 right now. Personnel, 25%. I think the Vikings defense this year, I think Brian Flores made the most out of it, but you really did not address the cornerback room this offseason. You brought in Byron Murphy. Frankly, what were we saying about him? Can he live up to that first-round talent? And he's injury-prone. I still kind of have those questions about him. He was your big get this offseason. Didn't really do much. So I think overall personnel, the Vikings just didn't really have that deep of a roster, and that's why when we did see injuries to the defensive side of the field, they really kind of took that step back. So right there, personnel, 25%. And again, you may be saying this, bad luck, 10%. You're saying that's excuses, this, and this, whatever. I do believe the Vikings had some terrible luck this year. When it came to just fumbling the football and just not recovering their own fumbles, they were one of the worst of all time. Because normally you would recover about 50% of your own fumbles. The Vikings were down at like 20%. So I do think some bad luck there. But overall, honestly, this should have been 5%. I should have put 25 to coaching. That's on me. Bad luck should have only been 5%. But I do think that I definitely played a factor. Just turnovers early on in the season. Just, Vikings got some bad breaks. And definitely there's a lot of blame to go around. But that's my pie chart of blame. Injuries 45, coaching 20, personnel 25, and bad luck 10. But we'll close out the show with this. What is the biggest reason the Vikings season was a failure? I said injuries. Pretty confident in that. I just think when you lose Kirk Cousins, man, it's going to hurt. But also, guys, make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. Closing in here on 22K. So hit that sub button. Help us out. We'll see you guys next time. As always, go Vikes.